Bristol has long enjoyed a rich history in sports. Its founding fathers ensured that sports would always be an integral part of Bristol's way of life by donating land for parks and foundations to support them. Since the 1800s, Bristol's industries have supported athletic competition and have sponsored many sports teams. As a result, Bristol has been endowed with a rich sports history that has become part of the fabric of our everyday lives. These industrial leagues, Bristol school leagues, little leagues, church leagues, and private clubs are in some way part of our everyday lives. In 1997, John Fortunato and Bob Montgomery formed the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame to honor Bristol's rich sports history.
The initiation of this whole organization came as a result of one day I had a meeting with Julie Larice, and it occurred to me that there's no way in the city of Bristol to give this guy any kind of recognition from the city. The idea then came to honor him in some way, and Hall of Fame became the vehicle. I talked to John Leone about it, and he thought it was a good idea, and he said, if you're going to do this, one of the people you should touch base with is Bob Montgomery, which made sense. Bob was a sports writer, and I did get together with Bob.
Around April, John Fortunato came by, and a few months earlier he came up with the idea of having a Bristol Sports Hall of Fame. John had talked to a few people in town, and he was at the library one day in Francine Petosa's office, who's our director, and I was there, and we met, and he told me what he wanted to do, and I said I'd like to be involved in that, and as we left, we agreed that we would just do it, and that's how we started.
At the time, we thought that we would try to do a Hall of Fame and museum, and we began to formulate from that point of view. We first of all asked John Smith, who was then vice president at the hospital, to give us some ideas on organization. We went on from there to look for other directors, and which we did. We've put a bunch of people on that have been involved with either coaching or leadership or what have you.
With John Smith as executive director, a board of directors was formed and a vision statement was created. That vision statement affirmed its mission: to permanently honor, document, and preserve distinctive contributions and achievements to the sports heritage of Bristol. Since 1997, a number of people who represented the best in Bristol's sports history have been inducted into the BSHOF. With this year's class, the number of inductees will grow to 80. The plaques honoring these individuals are on display at the Dennis N. Malone Aquatic Center on Mick Street in Bristol.
The initial idea, as I saw it with John, was that we would honor those who made contributions to Bristol sports or put us on the map. Anybody in any category. You could be a sports writer, you could be a coach, assistant coach, a volunteer, administrator, whatever. It's open. The Hall of Fame is inductees. It's open for anybody involved in sports in any way.
We solicit the public for their ideas on who would qualify to be in the Hall of Fame based on certain criteria, whether they're boosters or athletes or whatever capacity they're participating in sports in some way, manner, shape, or form. They send us a resume. A committee of our directors will cull through these and select who they finally feel is qualified to be that recipient.
What we do is I personally contact them and let them know that they've been selected. And you can't believe the phone calls that you get or the excitement in their voice. I mean, it's a real honor for them, and it's great for us. It's tremendous feedback to have someone say, man, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, that's terrific, and it makes us feel very good.
One of our first inductees was Tony Raffanello, who was the caretaker at Muzzy Field. Tony was responsible for keeping a field that has been known as the Jewel of New England for years. That was his contribution. It goes from that to some of our fine athletes and stars of today.
Thanks to public support, the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame has been able to sponsor the Scholar Athlete Program. Created by our former executive director Jack Hines, This program honors top student athletes from Bristol's 3 high schools for their combined athletic and scholastic achievements. Honored students must have attained a minimum grade point average of 88 and have a minimum of 3 varsity letters. Since 1999, several hundred students have been honored for their efforts. Each year, $1,000 scholarships are awarded to a student from each of the 3 Bristol high schools.
One of the thoughts that I had that I presented to the board was a scholar-athlete program. And then with the help of the board, we identified the criteria. So for about 8 years now, we recognize students from the 3 Bristol schools, the 2 public schools and St. Paul's. And to be eligible to attend that event, you've got to have a grade point average of 88 or better and have earned a varsity letter in 3 or 4 sports, not necessarily the same sport. And I think that we have given probably close to $20,000 to $25,000 in scholarships now since we first kicked that program off. And to maintain that grade point average and to earn those varsity letters it's not an easy chore, but we get somewhere between 75 and 80 kids that meet that criteria each year. And it's so satisfying to see the board members work so hard to make events like that so successful.
An additional award, the Joe McGinn Award, is presented to an individual who has overcome a significant challenge in their life. The award represents the spirit of Joe McGinn, who lost a lifelong battle with kidney disease. In a partnership with the Bristol Board of Education and the Bristol Board of Parks and Recreation, the BSHOF co-sponsors the annual Hershey Track and Field event. This event allows all the Bristol Grammar School children to compete in track and field events over several days. The winners then compete at the state level and in some cases earn the right to compete in Pennsylvania at the national level. This has become a much anticipated track and field event for Bristol's grammar school students. The BSHOF is also active in other annual community activities, such as the Bristol Mum Festival, the Children's Holiday Parade, and the Bristol Library's Festival of Trees. In 2003, President Dave Mills initiated the Leadership Council, featuring a business leader or sports figure who addresses the subject of leadership. Underclassmen from all 3 high school athletic teams are given the opportunity to discuss their leadership responsibilities in a roundtable discussion with educators and BSHOF directors.
One of the ideas that Dave had was a leadership council that we introduced a few years ago, and I mention that in answer to your question because having grown up in the north end of Hartford, that group are average or a little better average academically, but they've been recognized by their peers and coaches as having leadership. So it's not just necessarily the strongest academic, and my point being that I see myself coming out of the north end of Hartford as being a better fit for the leadership kids, so I really get charged up about that one. In that program, we have brought people like Bob Fiandella, Gary Palladino, Marie O'Brien, and the one thing they all had in common, which Dave always reminds the kids of, is the fact that they're not from Westport. All of these leaders that we have brought in are Bristol, and we always coach the speakers a little bit to ask them to share some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome, and they've all done a wonderful job with that. So we've been very fortunate with Scholar Athlete, the leadership, the Hershey program. We get involved at the Holiday Parade. That's where I think we're a little different than some of those other great Hall of Fames that you find throughout the state.
The inaugural speaker for the leadership program was Mr. Robert Fiandella, retired CEO of the Phoenix Company. Mr. Fiandella delivered a powerful message that impacted the students. He believed so strongly in the leadership program, he decided to fund the 3 annual events.
To get people in all phases of life that have the common thread of maybe athletics in Bristol and see what they've done, obviously that kind of shows that you can be very successful coming from Bristol, and that sport is important in Bristol and it plays a very important role in your life. It gives you the background, it gives you the, all the things they talk about, the intangibles they talk about with sport, they're presented in Bristol. And people take that with them, and they become very successful throughout the world, throughout the country.
The Bristol Sports Hall of Fame also presents a series of motivational speakers that is open to the public. To date, Shea Ralph, former UConn player, and Mr. Bobby Hurley, highly acclaimed coach from St. Anthony High School in New Jersey, delivered their messages to the citizens of Bristol.
We brought in Shea Ralph, for example, one time, had her speak to the general populace, just about sport, what she overcame, just the benefit of sport and benefit of athletics, because I think there's a message that everyone should hear and everybody will get something out of. So that was just an example of what we were doing with the speakers program.
The BSHOF website, www.bshof.org, is a valuable resource of Bristol sports information. Hank Lodge continues to expand what is becoming a single source of Bristol's sports history. The site offers information that keeps visitors informed about Bristol's best in sports. Included on the website is information on past inductees, new individuals nominated, links to other sports organizations, an online scrapbook, and much more. A rather large and ambitious project, this effort, when completed, will showcase every sports organization, little leagues, high schools, industrial leagues, and all the clubs that comprise our history.
Well, the future, I guess, will hold a lot of things. We haven't really done a whole lot with coaches as yet, so we want to do something with coaches possibly. One of the things we were able to do this summer, we sent 8 kids to the World Scholar Games in Rhode Island, which encompassed 140 different countries, so that would broaden some things. Possibility of maybe co-sponsoring with the park department. They've got a new facility where they've got volleyball courts, etc., and maybe the possibility of sponsoring some tournaments. If someone can come to us with ideas, we'll certainly entertain them.
The Bristol Sports Hall of Fame is very proud of our partnership in the community. We hope that those who help make all this possible, our advertisers, our membership, the inductees, but especially the citizens of Bristol, are also proud. Without their support, none of this would be possible.
Again, the whole purpose is to provide an activity or a niche in our society or our town that other groups don't do. We see what we need to do, and then we try to approach it and get it done. And again, with the help of all the board members and the townspeople, we're able to do that.
But to see where we've gone from day one and having Jack Hines and Dave Mills and others lead us, it's just nothing that I would have expected.
And the thing that makes it so gratifying and satisfying is that the board members we have all are willing to work. We'll hand them a job, or we'll ask them if they can do something, and they step up and they get it done.
But over the 10-year period, we've been very successful in the programs that we've put together, and we have become an entity that I think we can all well be proud of.